for about 10 seconds from when I pull up to the curb when I get to your door. Because I think maybe I'll get up there and I'll knock on the door and you won't be there.
This is Good Will Hunting. Written by and starring high school best friends Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, it was the launching pad for two of the most recognizable talents in Hollywood history. However, each of these heartthrobs took very different paths to superstardom once they had their foot in the door. The wilderness that is Hollywood can be a cruel and unforgiving place, and one bad step can stop your career dead in its tracks. And that's exactly what nearly happened for Matt Damon. One bizarre, big-budget bomb almost ended it all.
There's one movie I did that's not very good, and it's called The Great Wall.
Originally from Boston, Massachusetts, Damon and Affleck took drastically different paths after their Oscar-winning breakout hit. Affleck, who played second fiddle in Good Will Hunting, made a concerted effort to appear in as many big-budget blockbusters as possible. He popped up in Armageddon, Reindeer Games, and Daredevil.
I'm not the bad guy.
These big-budget studio action vehicles put Affleck in a specific type of cultural pocket. Big popcorn-style films with large cross-cultural appeal and not exactly a lot of depth.
For your sake, I hope justice is found here today, before justice finds you.
Conversely,
Matt Damon
positioned himself as more of the real actor of the pair. After his memorable turn in Saving Private Ryan, he picked high-quality projects with auteur directors, films that were aiming a bit higher than his childhood counterparts' crowd-pleasing efforts. The Talented Mr. Ripley, The Legend of Bagger Vance, and All the Pretty Horses. Oh, sure, he'd pop up in Ocean's 11 movies, but for a long time, he was more the artistically minded of the pair. It was the fact that he was saddled with the public persona that eventually led him to trying to counteract that by taking the dive into the action world himself and becoming the face of the Bourne Identity trilogy.
Jason Bourne is dead, you understand?
Where are you gonna go?
Go! I swear to God, if I even feel somebody behind me, there is no measure to how fast and how hard I will bring this fight to your doorstep.
The two actors have spoken at length about how, even though their careers have been inextricably linked since their most high-profile collaborative project, they made a conscious choice to split up in the intervening years. They wanted their own identities to exist in the public awareness.
What do I keep telling you? You gotta do the safe picture, then you do the art picture. And then sometimes you gotta do the payback picture because your friend says you owe him.
It's a smart strategic play on one level, and on another pretty understandable level from a basic human perspective. Of course, they were going to want to carve their own path. However, the two of them were always going to be linked in the cultural memory because the fairy tale wish fulfillment of their lives and careers is just too powerful for them not to be. Affleck's career had major ups and downs. He took big swings. Some worked out.
Affleck, you the bomb in Phantom, yo!
Some really didn't. Looking at you, Gigli.
What is that supposed to mean?
Damon's career has basically been on the rise his entire adult life. Sure, there's been some moments where things have slowed down and not been as prominent. Well, that is with one major exception. There was that one time when Matt Damon became snowblind due to the dollar signs being waved in front of him and agreed to do the movie The Great Wall.
My daughter, she kept calling it The Wall, and I was finally like, Isabella, that movie's called The Great Wall. And she was like, Dad, there is nothing great about that.
Cast your mind back to the year 2016. The Chinese box office was an undeniable force to be reckoned with. Some studio movies were making their whole budget back just on their Chinese theatrical run alone. So obviously, the international market was an ever-growing concern for the studio system, and China specifically was the most important aspect of this side of the business. As such, Legendary, the China Film Group, and Universal all pulled their resources to make a film that was a surefire hit, a high-concept genre film with loads of visual effects, a white actor to ensure cross-cultural appeal, and a virtual rainbow of color-coded suits of armor. That last point cannot be overstated. They really thought this film was going to live or die based on the number of colors that would clown car onto the screen. The Great Wall is some sort of Frankenstein hybrid of a creature-heavy effects movie and a 12-year-old boy's Taco Bell-induced nightmare. If you watch the trailer, you might think to yourself, oh, that's an interesting hook for a movie. I wonder what the story is aside from the fact that monsters are attacking the Great Wall of China and people have to try and fend them off. Here's the ultimate twist. There is no twist. There is no deeper metaphor, allegory, or personal message. The movie is just about that. And Matt Damon doing a weird accent and wearing a bad wig.
Look at this army. Have you ever seen anything like this?
The The Great Wall's plot follows two mercenaries who, through a theoretically madcap series of events, find themselves having to join forces with a massive army of Chinese warriors who conveniently have multicolored suits of armor in order to fight the hordes of lizard creatures hell-bent on getting over that dang wall. This does not even remotely do a good job of summarizing the cornucopia of strange decisions that are made for this film, from pole fighters that are strapped to cartoonishly long bungee cords to characters so wooden the arrows being fired at the CGI monsters have more to say about humanity.
Tell me how.
A swing of the sword. The hand, it came away clean. The beast fell back into a chasm.
The film is as dull as it is simultaneously operatic. To put it bluntly, the film is exactly what it started life as, a cynical money-making endeavor helmed by a corporate conglomerate that is the very definition of too many cooks in the kitchen. When the film was eventually released, it was met with a deafening silence, both in China and America. The plan to make a cross-cultural phenomenon had not exactly gone as planned. The film wasn't a complete unmitigated disaster, having pulled in almost $335 million on a budget of $150 million, but it failed at creating a monster movie rallying point for people of all cultures to marvel at. Despite the film underperforming, it was really the cultural fallout of the project that no one could have seen coming. The ballet-like nature of the action, the rainbow aesthetic, and the awful CGI creatures were a perfect mix of poor choices. Put bluntly, Americans just really didn't vibe with the style of the film. The whole project took on a life of its own as a joke, and one that didn't seem to be fading from Matt Damon's orbit.
We are honored to be honored.
Is that the best you've got?
To add insult to injury, the 1-2 punch of blandness that was Suburbicon and downsizing didn't help things for Damon. He was in an objectively weird spot. The cultural perception of him seemed to be rocky at best. Looking at how Affleck and Damon navigated those choppy waters is fascinating because they each took different paths. When Affleck's career went into a downward spiral, he started writing and directing. Gone Baby Gone, The Town, and Argo, he went from being a cultural laughingstock to one of the most prominent directors in a few short years due to his own creative talents. When Damon suffered some setbacks, he went and paired up with auteur filmmakers that he already had established relationships with. He really settled into his role as an actor and tried to pick great filmmakers to work with. Just goes to show you how there's no right way to build a career.
Are we saying there's a chance that when we push that button, we destroy the world?
Chances are near zero.
Near zero.
The Great Wall is thought of as being this horrific failure. Was it a creative failure? Sure, but it made almost twice its budget back, which isn't the same thing as a complete and total flop. It's a craven play for money. No one here is showing up thinking they're making art, and you can feel it. At the end of the day, The Great Wall is not the worst movie ever made. It might feel like it while you're watching it, but it's just not. It committed the ultimate sin. It had all the money in the world and couldn't figure out anything interesting to say. It's not for lack of access to resources that the film failed, it's for lack of ambition and sincerity. Once you start trading in apathy, that's when your career truly gets into trouble. And well, that's all we have for this episode of Nerdstalgic. What do you think? If you had all the money that these idiots had, could you have made a better movie? Let us know in the... Oh wait, yeah, you don't need to do that. We know you could have. Anyone could have. Literally any human alive could have sleptwalked through the creative process and made something of about equivalent quality.